See the birds?
Wow.
You see them too. The birds. You ever species in America?
Woo.
You ever species in America? Oh.
Look at that fish.
I don't think so.
From a little boy, I always had a desire to not just travel to Africa, but the world. I remember my mom, when I was a little kid, invested in what was called the World Book Encyclopedia. And I used to just look at different countries and states and whatnot, and even different cities in the world. And Africa was always on the top of my list.
Goats on the loose. And the famous Max Caesar. They will be feeding us real good today.
Preparation in going to Africa is not easy as one may expect. There's a lot of rigorous things that you have to do in order to get to Gambia. It's not like jumping on an airplane and going to New York or California. There's a lot of things that you have to do to prepare yourself, not only mentally but physically. Arriving to Africa was really a wonderful experience, and as most people says they want to kiss the ground, well, I didn't kiss the ground, but I sure bowed once I got off the airplane.
Pastor Chris, get in there and get the live fish.
Say Pastor Christian Hall, who traveled with me, I thank God for him. I thank God for his life and his willingness to travel with me. Thank God for his wife allowing him and supporting this endeavor, for him to travel. But he did a tremendous job, and I don't think I could have asked for a better person to travel with me. I connected with a pastor that I met last September, the end of September of 2015, Pastor Ronald Day. I met him in Rock Hill, South Carolina, which is about a half hour from Charlotte, North Carolina, where I live. And Pastor Day, after this particular service, evening service, he invited me, he wanted to make a trip to my church, Rhema Covenant International, Rhema Covenant Worship Center International. And I gave him the card. He showed up on a Sunday morning. He was so moved and so impressed with the service. I gave him the mic so that he could have words. And right after the service, he says to me, well, he still had the mic in his hand, and he says to the congregation, Pastor Brian, I want you to come to Gambia in November. We just laughed at him because, quite frankly, it was September and that just was not enough time, but we did understand his sincerity. And I've had many African brothers that connected with me and wanted me to travel to Africa, but it just didn't happen. And I felt something special, something strong. I felt a bond with Pastor Ronald Day, who is a pastor in Gambia. Gambian people are some of the most sweetest, loving people that you can encounter. I mean, I was really moved. I think partly because 95% of the country is Muslim and 5% is Christianity. And they work very hard to get along with one another. It's not unusual for a Christian to be married to a Muslim, but they work it, it's a workable system. And I think part of that is because it's a tourist country and they don't want anything to jeopardize their tourist money. That's my assumption. But I mean, some of the sweetest, loveliest people that you want to meet. And all of my experience there has been quite welcoming, embracing. The first day that we got there, actually the next day, when we got there, took a trip to the beach, myself and Pastor Chris, and one of the brothers noticed that we were not African. I mean, I guess we stood out like a sore thumb, but needless to say, he wanted to know what country we were from. We told him that we were from America, and he yells at us, "Welcome home, brother, welcome home." And let me tell you, that really did something for me, because I've heard of people traveling to Africa and how they were received, and how that the African people are really waiting for us to come back home. And for this brother to say that, it was so poignant, it was so moving, and it really did something to me. It really did. And I really felt a sense that I was back home. It's hard to describe the feeling and the effervescence of the moment, effervescent feeling of the moment, but it was incredible. I really felt that I was back home.
We had a really nice conversation about the motherland, and they're saying that all Americans, Black Americans in particular, need to come to Africa. Tell them yourself.
They have to come. Yes.
Why?
Always welcome.
Why?
This is their place.
Because here
This
is
is
home.
their place. This is their place.
Here is home. Africa is home.
This is their place. This
Wow.
is where they come from.
The motherland.
Yes, that's motherland. No matter what.
Wow.
You have to come.
Yes. Well, we're going to definitely encourage them to come.
Church service, Pastor Day's church, it was so intense, it was lively, it was anointed, it was so raw. And what I mean by that, just the people, the way they worship God, it was incredible. I really felt as if this was the originality of where worship came from. This is the place. This is the epicenter of worship in the motherland. It was awesome. And I mean, the people, the way they express themselves in worship, the way they dance, the way they rejoice. And some of these people have very little. But you would never know that because of their faith, because of their trust in God. You would never know. And the way they come to church, the way they dress so beautifully, as you know, what I have on, similar to what I have on. I mean, beautiful colors, vibrant, and it just sets a different tone in terms of worship. But when you travel to a place such as Gambia, or different parts of Africa and different parts of the world, those people, they have that's all they have. It's just a worship. They're not serving God for a car. They're not serving God for the new house. They're serving God simply because He's God. And you don't have to prophesy to them. You don't have to speak over their lives. They will accept the word for what it is because they have that much faith. From that Thursday to that Sunday. That Sunday, I concluded the service. And in my conclusion, well, while I was preaching, I mean, the Lord was really moving among us in the message until the bishop who was visiting, there was a bishop that was visiting from Zimbabwe. He came up to me, grabbed the mic, and interrupted me while I'm preaching. And I'm like, what just happened here? Well, what happened, this man grabbed the mic and he was saying that there's a song that they sing where he's from. And I forget the name of it. I forget the name of the song, but he grabbed the mic and they started singing it. And for about 30 seconds to a minute, they were singing the song. And when they concluded, he gave me back the mic and said, finish preaching. This is the custom. When they are enjoying the word, they will interrupt you just to let you know in some way, shape, or form that they are getting the most out of what you're saying. It was truly anointed. It was anointed. The message was anointed. The service was anointed.
I will not lose. I will not submit. You have power over the enemy. Somebody scream in this place.
two things.
Excuse me.
Thank you, Lord.
I wish just for a minute, if I knew how to sing this song, only that I don't know how to sing it. Jehovah is fighting for you. Why should you worry?
Jehovah is fighting for me. Yeah.
But we don't do that in America because if someone interrupts you, they will be exited out of the church. You do not interrupt a preacher in America. So I thought that was funny. I didn't get offended because I thought, well, maybe this is a custom, something that they do.
Say America. Pastor Brown. Pastor Brown. All right. Yeah, right. Oh, wow, you ate up all your food. Wow. Hey, how you doing, cutie pie?
Gambia, not only to preach, but also to assess the ministry of Pastor Ronald Day. He supports a school feeding program as well as different things there in Gambia, and we wanted to go there to assess his needs, and as well as being a support to the school in which he's in partnership with.
Oh, man.
Particular day, we arrived at this school. I forget the name of it, but we got there, and to my surprise, they were expecting us. All of these school children, they were all gathered together. The young girls, they were dancing while the little boys in the corner was playing on the little drums. And matter of fact, it wasn't even drums. It was it was different things that they created, plastic bottles and stuff. And I mean, they were on rhythm too. And it was awesome. And these school girls, I mean, they were dancing, and I mean, they were moving. And of course, myself and Pastor Christian Hall, we wanted to be a part of it. And I said to myself, well, if we do something silly, maybe we'll make them laugh. And that's what I started doing. I grabbed some of the young people and started dancing silly. Now, listen, I don't really dance like that. I got some moves now, but I'll keep that to myself. But needless to say, it was so funny. The young people, they were in stitches, and it really made them feel good. One of the things that I remember Pastor Day saying to us when we got there, he said, you will see things that you've never seen before. And he was absolutely right, because I saw a lot of things that I've never seen before. We were parked across from, I believe, his church, or maybe somewhere else. We were parked somewhere, we were parked. And I noticed these children, it was in the day, a school hour, they weren't in school. And I noticed these children looked like they were at a well. I couldn't really make it out because we were on the opposite side of the block. And I jumped out of the car and I walked across the road, dirt road, and I asked the children, I'm like, what are y'all doing? We're getting water. And I looked down, and it was this deep well, about maybe 25 feet, something like that. And these children was actually drawing water out of the well.
I'm trying to get all my pictures.
Me, I'm like go America.
I heard that.
Yes.
I'm African American. Bye-bye. One more. Come here.
It was really touching. It was touching. And we take so much for granted in this country, so much for granted. And I pray that God will just teach us how to be simplistic. Belgium is one of the cities in Europe where you can connect going to the Gambia. We connected going as well as coming back home. But coming back home was pretty interesting because while I was at the airport, I just got this eerie feeling about it. I mean, something just didn't feel right, you know, and I had thoughts in my mind. And one of the thoughts was like, suppose I end up in the hospital in this place. But, you know, you kick it out of your mind, you rebuke the enemy, and you keep moving forward. But needless to say, 5 days after we returned home from traveling through Belgium, it was a Tuesday, returned home that Friday and Tuesday. 5 days later, I'm looking at, well, actually, I was looking at my Facebook and I saw someone had a comment, we're praying for Belgium, and I'm trying to figure out Belgium, what's happening? And I turned the television on and I noticed that there was a bombing in Belgium. There was a bombing in Belgium, and a number of people, over 30 plus people were killed. And I noticed that at the airport, there was a bombing as well as one of the subway systems there that was under attack. And chills went up and down my spine because the same time the bombing occurred, we were there. We were there. We were at this airport. As I was looking at Good Morning America, I saw different things that I recognized, different images that I recognized. And I was so grateful to God because it could have gone differently. No sooner than I was looking at the news, Pastor Christian Hall called me, and we just couldn't believe it, how we were so close from becoming a victim. 5 days, 5 speaks of God's grace. And I have such an appreciation for God and His divine protection and timing. And come to find out, 2 Americans were killed at the Belgium airport. And I thought about myself. I thought about Pastor Christian. It could have been us, but God had His hands over our lives. And I tell you what, whenever God has His hands upon your life, and when He has sanctioned you to do something, the enemy cannot bring any harm against you. The Bible says no weapon that is formed against us shall prosper. I truly thank God for my African experience to the motherland, and I'm going to tell you, ever since then, the Lord is opening up more doors for me to go to Africa. It's so strange and feels so funny because I feel like a part of me has been left in Africa. And my wife literally looked at me the other day and she says, "Are you turning African on me?" Yes, I am turning African. I'm African American. But, you know, people would often say when you go to Africa, it's almost as if you're leaving something behind. And that's the way I feel, as if I'm a part of a culture that I've been disconnected from, and I so eagerly want to reconnect, and I have such a desire to go back. But I want to thank God for all of you that have contributed, you that have helped me, you that have made my trip to the motherland possible. There's a lot of ministry in the motherland, a lot of needs that must be met, and I am believing God that in the near future that we'll be able to go back and connect not only with the Gambia but also different regions of Africa. I've been invited to go to 2 different places, Nigeria as well as Zimbabwe, and I'm looking forward to going to those places. So continue to pray for us as we seek to do the will of God, and be mission minded.
Cheese.
Oh, they took it out there.
Okay, come.
We are a chosen generation. We've been called for to show His excellence.
I'm excited being here at the Ziba School. You children are beautiful. You're beautiful. What you have exhibited today was excellent. And I love all of you. And you know what? I know your mommy and your daddy loves you, but I wish I could take all of you back to America with me. Who want to go to America with me? Hey, America! Pastor Brown! Well, listen, we know that can't happen. What we want to do, we want to try to assess your needs so that we can try to do what we can to help and I'm going to take this video back to America, and I'm going to let them know that the Zebai school needs help, right? You want to come to America? You want to come to America to do what?
Yes.
To do what? To have your baby?
Yes, baby America.
We are a chosen generation. We've been called for to show.
All right. Say hello to America.
We are a chosen generation. We've been called for to show His excellence. All I require for life, God has given me.
Although it's been a month now, or close to a month, since I've been back to America from my great trip to the motherland of Africa, in the wonderful country of Gambia, I must admit, I miss it. I miss the food, I miss the culture, I miss the people, I miss everything about Africa. And you know, strangely enough, I didn't realize how connected I was to Africa prior to my trip there, or prior to me ever thinking about going to the motherland. As I observed in my church office, in my home, I have so many different images concerning the motherland, or that reminded me of the motherland. And so I believe that's why it was so easy for me to connect while I was there. I must say this, all of us must take a trip to the motherland.